Serving southern New Mexico, this is the award-winning KRWG-TV News 22, where news matters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tristan Tamez.
And I'm Abigail Salas. And Jackie, what can you tell us about today's weather?
So if we're looking at your current conditions today, we should be seeing some possible sunny skies with a temperature of 80 degrees, winds traveling west-southwest at 14 miles per hour. We have our humidity at 7%, a dew point hitting 13 degrees, and a barometer at 29.71 inches. We had a high of 82 with a low of 54, leaving our average at 78 degrees. Over in 2006, we had a record high temperature of 90 degrees, and over in 1983, we had a record low of 30 degrees. We have had no rainfall today, so that keeps our yearly rainfall at 0.57 inches. Now, back to the desk for more news.
Justice is a key part of our democracy, but not all have equal access to it. This is the theme for this year's 18th annual J. Paul Taylor Symposium, dubbed Justice for Journalists. The public event included several journalists who covered border news, such as Angela Kucherga and Rocio Gallegos from the El Paso Juarez area. Panelists talked about the dangers and challenges journalists face throughout all of Mexico.
Right now, journalists and on both sides of the border, here along the border, are facing big challenges. And in the case of our Mexican colleagues, actual threats to their lives. You know, once you silence a journalist, you really, it affects an entire community and the kind of information they have access to.
Gallegos mentioned, she said, we don't need the support, I'm paraphrasing her, we don't need the support or the protection of the government, we need the support of society.
The greatest danger is our lives are at risk.
The symposium ends today at 7:30 with keynote speaker Catherine Corcoran, a former Associated Press bureau chief in Mexico. Her talk will focus about her book, In the Mouth of the Wolf, a murder cover-up of Mexican investigative reporter.
New Mexico State Police agents arrested a father and son involved in a fatal shooting. 59-year-old Danny Casalnuevo was reported missing last month. An investigation was launched, and it was revealed that 59-year-old Gary Lee Durham shot and killed Casalnuevo after an argument issued between 81-year-old Gary Robert Durham and Casalnuevo. New Mexico State Police uniform officers located Danny's vehicle at a residence in Farmington. Gary Lee admitted to the crime and was arrested on multiple charges. Stay tuned. Jackie will be back with your national weather forecast, and later, Carpio will have the scoop on sports.
But first, more on the dangers of vaping. More on this when News 22 continues. Welcome back. You're watching News 22 Thursday,
where news matters.
And Jackie is next with the national forecast.
Thanks, Abigail. For your national forecast, we're going to be seeing some possibly record-breaking temperatures. This is all going to be ranging all the way from Wisconsin down the East Coast. If you move on to my next map, you're going to see a little bit more about what these temperatures are looking like. So as you can see on Saturday and for Friday and Saturday, all these temperatures are mainly going to be ranging from the 80s and the 70s. But on Sunday and Monday, things are going to come and they're going to kind of calm down a little bit and bring back to chilly weather. So now it's time to take a look at my next map for your national temperatures. We have Salt Lake City sitting at 33 degrees, Denver sitting at 44 degrees, Kansas City sitting at 56 degrees, and then that'll be all for your national temps. I'll be back later in the show. And we're back with your local temperatures. As you can see in Farmington, it's going to be 67 degrees, Gallup's going to be hitting 65 degrees, Albuquerque hitting 73, and Socorro hitting 77. We have Ruidoso hitting 66 and Roswell hitting 85 degrees, Las Cruces at 80, and Deming also at 80 degrees. Looking at tomorrow's temperatures, we have Farmington hitting 55 and Gallup hitting 58. We have Socorro hitting 71 degrees and Ruidoso hitting 61 degrees. Las Cruces at 78 and Deming at 74 degrees. It's time to take a look at our neighboring cities. We have Alamogordo with a low of 54 and a high of 73 with some windy skies tomorrow. We're taking a look at Truth or Consequences. We have a low of 53 with some clear skies, and tomorrow a high of 74 with some windy skies. Taking a look at Silver City, we have a low of 40 and a high of 64 with some windy skies as well. And here in the city of Crosses, we have a low of 58 and a high of 78 with some windy skies tomorrow. I'll be back later in the show with your 5-day.
People in China and on social media are happy that the Memphis Zoo's giant panda is returning home. Yaya has been at the zoo for over 20 years, and her mate Lele died in February. Her appearance has been concerning people for some time, but zoo officials says she has a hormone condition that affects her fur. Lele was 25 years old when he died, and the average lifespan for a giant panda under human care is about 30. In the wildlife, it is 15 to 20 years. The exact date has not been set for Yaya's trip home. And Carpio is next with sports.
Thanks, Abigail. Coming up next in sports, the Aggies have a brand new assistant basketball coach. Now you can toss that remote away because News 22 Sports is coming to you next.
This is KRWG-TV News 22 Sports.
Welcome back. I'm Carpio Grego. Now let's talk some sports. Now going out and attending a sporting event is very common for the average person who can afford it and all. Included is an athlete's parents supporting their children. Some see it as an opportunity to get out of the house, grab some food, have some fun, and support their favorite team. But for this person who moved to southern New Mexico, it started while watching his daughter play against the Aggies.
We're transplanted Californians, and the only reason why we moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico is our daughter played softball at Louisiana Tech, and we watched her play here a couple times and fell in love with Las Cruces.
Now Barnes will continue supporting the Aggies softball team the same way he supported his daughter when she was playing. Now from Tarleton to NMSU, that's the journey for Aggies' newest assistant coach, Zach Settembre, who officially became part of Coach Hooten's new staff. He only spent 1 year at Tarleton under head coach Billy Gillespie, but together they set a new wins record at the team for the team at 17 games behind an elite defensive team averaging 9.7 steals a game with only 5 teams ahead of them in that category. Now NMSU fans and students, I'm sure, are eagerly awaiting Coach Hooten's next hire and what his first recruiting class will eventually look like. And that's all I have for sports tonight. Join us for more sports action tomorrow or next week. Still ahead on News 22, Jackie's going to be back with your 5-day forecast. But first, on the possibilities of when you're in love and when you have ChatGPT. More on this when News 22 continues.
If you've ever tried writing your own wedding vows, you know how important it is to get the words just right. Well, this bride decided to try out a new source of inspiration for her wedding vows. She used ChatGPT. Ellie Swan says when she first did it, it was a joke, and it was pretty cheesy. After she made a few edits and added some humor and personal touches, but as she stood at the altar in February, a good portion of what ChatGPT had suggested was included in her vows. She says it helped alleviate a lot of stress and that her husband liked it. Now let's go to Jackie for some more weather.
Taking a look at your 5-day, tomorrow we should have some windy skies with a high of 80 and a low of 48. Saturday we should see some partly sunny skies with a high of 82 and a low of 49. And then for the rest of the week we should be seeing some sunny skies and then some highs in the 80s and lows in the 50s. And that's all for your 5-day.
And that's all for News 22 Thursday. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Tune in tomorrow night for more news. I'm Abigail Salas.
And I'm Tristan Tomez. And from the whole News 22 team, Abigail, Jackie, Carpio, and myself, good night.
This news brief in Español is brought to you by Noticias 22, Spanish language news for southern New Mexico and West Texas. Noticias 22.
Buenas tardes, les saluda Andrea Vázquez con las breves de Noticias 22. La justicia es un elemento clave de nuestra democracia, pero no todos tienen el mismo acceso a ella. Este es el tema del 18º Simposio Anual J. Paul Taylor titulado Justicia para los Periodistas. En el evento público participaron varios periodistas que cubren noticias fronterizas como Ángela Cocherga y Rocío Gallegos de la zona del Paso Juárez. Los panelistas hablaron de los peligros y retos a los que se enfrentan los periodistas en todo México.
Es muy importante hablar de periodistas aquí en la frontera porque ellos son los que están contando la historia y también es importante apoyar uno al otro en ambos lados porque sin poder tener ese tipo de apoyo no hay protección.
El simposio concluye hoy a las 7:30 con la oradora principal Catherine Corcoran, ex jefa de la oficina de Associated Press en México. Su conferencia se enfocará en su libro, En la boca del lobo, que habla sobre el asesinato y encubrimiento de un reportero de investigación mexicano. La policía del Paso arrestó al hombre acusado de asesinar a su novia. Hace unas semanas, Christopher Paul Maya, de 34 años, fue detenido por el equipo táctico Lone Star Fugitive Task Force en un estacionamiento de Walmart, en el noreste de la ciudad. Su arresto viene después de la policía buscaba a una persona desaparecida conocida como Michelle Morales Nacasa, de 32 años de edad. El 31 de marzo, un cuerpo fue localizado en el área de Red Sands, en el condado del Paso, y se determinó que era el cuerpo de Morales. Maya fue ingresado al centro de detención del condado del Paso con una orden de arresto por asesinato con una fianza de $1 millón firmada por el juez Nava. Gracias por acompañarnos el día de hoy. No olviden seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales. Que tengan una linda noche.